Hey everybody, check it out. It's what day is it today? Man, it is December 4th, Wednesday, December 4th. Got some travel coming up. Today I thought we would kind of review what it would take for you to start a business. And when I'm talking about this, I'm referring to the fact for those of you who may see people like me or other entrepreneurs on the market who are doing things like they're selling maybe t-shirts or coaching or consulting out there, and they get excited. They get excited by the prospect of being an entrepreneur. They get excited by the freedom of doing things. They get excited by the short hours, which don't exist, but they get excited by the freedom of time, the freedom of income, and just the general freedom of life that comes from running a business on your own. Because you know what? I have to admit, at times it does seem glamorous. As we all know, once we get into the thick of it, it's not necessarily all glamour and glitz. But oftentimes people have the mindset of, I want to do that, but I just have no idea what I would sell or what I would offer the world or how I would even begin to do that. But I want to do it because it seems pretty exciting. So I thought today would be a good time for that. If you ever know somebody like that who wants to start a business or do something like that, do me a favor and share this video with them, tag this video with them, and we're going to talk about how, the very basic steps of how you figure out what you might want to offer the world. And so that's going to be our topic today. Let's get into it. Sweet. Okay, everybody, for you first timers, let's make sure we're at the right camera. Yeah. My name is Patrick Allmond. I run Stop Doing Nothing here, coaching and consulting, and Focus Digital Marketing Agency. And we've been doing a Facebook Live pretty consistently now recently. I just call it the Stop Doing Nothing show, where I give you guys some simple tips on how to get things done in life and in business. Today's show is, looks like we're December 4th. 10 a.m. Central. As always, I want you to chime in wherever you're listening or watching from, especially our international visitors. But of course, I love my domestic USA visitors also. Again, my name is Patrick Allmond. I run a digital marketing agency and consulting company out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I've been doing these shows, daily for a while, just because I think it's the easiest way for me to get information out to you about the right way to do things in life and the right way to do things in business. So if you're tuning in for the first time, I really appreciate you. And for those of you that are repeat watchers or tune in daily, also very, very cool. I appreciate you. Really quick, before we get into the thick of it, I'd like to remind people that we are in multiple locations on the internet. So we basically record this show via Facebook Live, and so it lives on Facebook. And then right after the show is over with, I upload to YouTube. So if you're a person that spends a lot of time on YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Patrick Allmond channel. And then after that, probably a couple days after that, is I extract the audio file and I put that in a podcast. And that podcast ends up on Spotify and iTunes and iHeartRadio and Stitcher. So I just try to be multiple places for you depending on what you like to watch. Now, of course, I personally am all over social media, but just those are the primary three places if you want to consume this content other ways that you can do it. Okay, again, to recap, our today's topic is going to basically what I titled in my notes here, what can I offer the world? What can you bring to the world? And again, this is for those people who are on the fringes, what I call on the fringes or on the outskirts of entrepreneurship. And it seems like a cool thing. And even I hear sometimes people just call themselves an entrepreneur, like that's a job. In my mind, that's not a job. That is a process of building a business is to become an entrepreneur, but just being an entrepreneur is not a job. So whenever I see people describe themselves as entrepreneur or a serial entrepreneur, I kind of wince a little bit. Because that, to me, that kind of leads people that are not an entrepreneur or who are not in business to think it's some kind of cool, glamorous thing. I just sit there and start and drop businesses. To me, an entrepreneur is just anyone who says, I am in business. They don't have to get a license. They don't have to collect any money. They're just like, oh, I'm in business. And that's okay to a point. But again, I don't like personally to call myself an entrepreneur. I like to call myself, and I like to reference my other friends that are in business as people who solve particular problems or bring particular value to the market. So rather than call yourself an entrepreneur, you may be someone who sells cat supplies and cat toys online and brings joys to the lives of cat owners. I was chatting with someone about that online today. You may be someone who offers life coaching to women over 40 to basically help them set and achieve their goals online. But just calling yourself an entrepreneur in general doesn't really tell the world much about what you do, and you want the process of what you do to be easy to describe in a single sentence or two. Remember that old adage about basically being able to describe what you do in an elevator called the elevator pitch? Well, that still holds true to this day, whether it's an elevator pitch or a tweet or a social profile update. Whatever you do to the world has to be easy to describe. So when we're talking about what you can offer the world, I'm going to flow through this kind of in three different sections here. First of all, what the mindset of what you can offer the world, and then maybe the process of getting to the point where you have something to sell, and then what it actually takes to basically get the business up and running. And I'm going here in the mindset of something called MVP is what I think I've heard it put in the past, and that's a minimum viable product. In other words, there are a plethora of ways, an unlimited number of ways you can start a business. Traditionally in the past, it's been by getting a business plan outlined and sketching out everything and doing 5 and 10 year projections on your finances and how you're going to market and how you're going to do this and how you're going to do things like that. And I think that process of over planning has kind of gone by the wayside. It may be true if you have like a lot of funding up front or certain business models, but most of the people I deal with today, they either kind of plan their business on the back of a napkin, or they fall into business accidentally. It's really not uncommon to find people who are really good at what I call the 8 to 5 W-2 job, I'm not putting it down, and they do a little bit of outside consulting, all of a sudden, their outside consulting income is equal to their let's say their regular day job income, and then all of a sudden they are the accidental entrepreneur. Hopefully that will happen to you. That's kind of one of the safest ones because you don't really have any variation in your income, if you will. But more often than not, the people that really want to go into business for themselves are people who kind of set aside money a little bit, and then when the time is right, they can basically start their business, and maybe they've got 6 months of income float while they are actually starting up the business to get the new business up and running to get their income back in there. So that is the way that people usually start business. So the mindset of going into starting a business, for those of you who have no idea what you want to start, but you want to start something, here's some things I want you to kind of consider here. There are skills and products in the world already. There's almost no new skill or product in the world, unless you're Elon Musk and you're just developing brand new cars and brand new space vehicles. But there's nothing new, in my opinion, under the sun. But I do know this, and when I speak at conferences and events and trainings and coaching, these are the kind of things I like to remind people who don't really have a clear defined path. I divided people into kind of 5 groups. The world, not the entrepreneur, the world the entrepreneur wants to approach. I've kind of divided them into 5 groups. There are people who know absolutely nothing but want to know something. Let's pick dog grooming, okay? I just made that up off the top of my head. You are somebody who wants to teach other people how to basically run a dog grooming business, because you know this very well. You've groomed dogs, and you just want to teach other people how to kind of run that business. Or let's just say in general, you are someone who, we'll use the example of are you going to become a dog groomer? That's probably a better one. So you have groomed your dog for a while, you've got some decent skills at it. There are other people out there who know nothing about it, but they know what needs to be done to keep your dog healthy and safe. So there are people out there who absolutely know nothing, the Jon Snows of the world, okay? They know nothing about dog grooming, they just know that they want to go to someone who's pretty good at it. I would also say that there's another group of people out there are the people that know the wrong things. For every skill set out there, there's just some bad knowledge out there, and the smarter people out there are constantly combating that, whether it's bad industrial knowledge or science knowledge or whatever. So there's those 2 groups of people. There are people who know the very basics, and those people sometimes are almost more dangerous than the people that know nothing. People who have a basic grasp of it, but think they know a lot and they're doing it wrong. So those people are kind of like the people who know the wrong things, but the people who know the very basics. And then there are advanced people. And so, for example, if you've been doing dog grooming for a while, you're probably very good at it. You probably know the right clippers and the wrong clippers, and the right shampoos and basically the right ways to keep a dog calm, especially some dogs that have panic attacks or aren't necessarily really keen to be groomed, if you will. So there's the advanced people. And then the fifth group of people are the advanced people who are also good teachers or good communicators. And it's important to know that there's a difference between an advanced person and an advanced person who's also a good teacher. There are, and this may be you, and this is perfectly okay, but there are people out there who know a field very well who are not necessarily really good communicators. Teaching and consulting and speaking and things like that, that is a separate skill set from actually doing the task at hand. So you may be a great dog person who's a great dog groomer. That's horrible with people. But people love taking their dogs to you because you are just really good with the animals. That's another bucket to be in. So when you keep in mind out there of the fact of what you want to do, I want you to realize that you are probably your market is probably one of these five groups of people: people who know nothing, people who know the wrong things, people who have a very basic grasp, the advanced people, and the advanced people who are good teachers. And I guess the sixth one would be the advanced people who aren't good teachers. My point there being, and I actually talked about this in a Toastmaster speech a long time ago, I remember that. And the way I presented this in the group of Toastmasters was there were 40 people in the room, and I said there are 40 people out here who are always eager and willing to learn something. So there are 40 students in the room, and also in the exact same room there are 40 people who have life and business knowledge who are capable of sharing it with other people. So there's always somebody out there who wants to learn what you know. That's my whole point of taking the path I just took with you, is there's always somebody on the market who knows what you want to know. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people for you to make a decent amount of money at it. Think about the number of people in your city or in your state. You could be a dog groomer that just focuses on a particular city or state, probably a particular city, and you can make a killing at it because you don't need a lot of people out there. Oftentimes you see when people go into business, they think about having a huge audience and a huge customer base, and you don't really need that. I think I've done some other episodes of this show on pricing and how to basically become a premium price product or a premium price service, and that's something else that you should definitely consider. But you don't need a huge base. You just need to find a small focused group of people who want to know what you know. And so that's going to be kind of in those first 2 or 3 groups: people who know nothing and people who know the wrong things. And maybe also the people who have a basic grasp. So once you've got that in your mind, that okay, you have something that somebody wants to know, you should be able to kind of leap to the next part, which is, okay, I've got a certain skill set. It may not seem like much, and that's something else we should probably take a quick sidebar on. Oftentimes, when I talk to people and they want to basically start selling or consulting online, they really don't think they know much. They're like, oh yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years, but I wouldn't call myself an expert. The amount of time you've been doing it is longer than somebody else and hasn't been doing it. So you are one step ahead of somebody else. This is the whole, this reminds me of a scene from, what was it, Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he was a teacher or a professor, I think, in that movie. And somebody had asked him later when he got caught, is how did you teach this? Or I think he was a medical doctor. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. How were you able to teach this? And he just said, I just read one chapter ahead of the class every night. And that's the way it is with whatever you know, as long as you know a little bit more than somebody else, that somebody else will pay you to teach them that thing. That was my whole point of that first block right there. So you got this out here. You've been dog grooming for 5 years or even a year. You're halfway good at it. Now it's time to come up with a way to sell this to somebody. First of all, try to not label yourself as a commodity. Now what that means is, okay, you've decided you are going to be a dog groomer. We all know it's clippers and it's a dog and it's a shampoo. You're a dog groomer, okay? Let's get that out of the way. However, I don't want you to call yourself primarily a dog groomer. I want you to call yourself something that makes you stand out a little bit. Don't just say I'm a dog groomer like every other dog groomer, or don't answer the phone like, Patrick's dog grooming service. Don't lump yourself in with everybody else who does the exact same thing. First of all, it's just bad for branding and marketing. Second of all, it makes it very hard to choose you when someone's comparing. If somebody calls around to all the dog grooming services and you answer the phone, Patrick's dog grooming, and they're like, what do you do? I groom dogs. It doesn't give anybody the real strong motivation to choose you. But if you, let's see, how can I call this? Patrick's Dog Beautification Service. If you answer the phone with Patrick's Dog Beautification Service and they say, oh, what do? You're like, well, people come to us because we make dogs happy, we make dogs smell good, we make dogs look good, and we create happy owners from happy dogs. If you were to come up with something like that, I just completely made that up off the top of my head. If you were to come up with something like that, a person over the phone realizes that they're talking to someone different than just the average dog groomer. They're talking to someone who cares about the animal, who cares about the process, and who has a great outcome plan for them. So try to come up with the way where you label yourself as just not being a commodity. I also call that, I said basically in my list here of notes, is the worst thing it could be is a commodity, or another worst thing it could be is kind of be average or a Me Too business. I used to go to BNI meetings, and in BNI meetings sometimes there's multiple people from a given industry, life insurance. You may have 2 life insurance people in a BNI group, and every now and then I would go to one, and they'd go around the room where you have to introduce yourself, and they'd get to the life insurance people, which for some reason would be sitting together. I have no idea why. And one person would stand up and say, oh, I'm with the New York Life Insurance, and we sell yada, 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 whatever, life insurance, clap, clap, clap. That person sits down. And then the next person would get up, also a life insurance agent, and say, yeah, I do the same thing he does. I just do it for Allstate, and then sit down. I would never, ever remember that Allstate person. I probably would never buy from that Allstate person, because that just to say, oh, you just do the same thing as somebody else is god awful. One of the most boring things in the world. Please do not just say you do the same thing as somebody else. Also, when getting back to deciding, and this probably should have been in the first section here, what you want to do, I want to talk to you about a Venn diagram I saw once, which is what are you good at, what can you make a profit at, and what do you want to do. So when deciding what you want to do as an entrepreneur, or as a dog groomer, or starting your business, please take those 3 things to mind. If you want that Venn diagram, let me know and I will get that to you. But it was just the 3 circles of what are you good at, what can you charge for, and what do you want to do. And that what do you want to do is a really important one. I think in life, we kind of get forced into the first 2 circles. What are you good at? What can you make money at? And that's how we become an employee, which is perfectly fine. But we tend to sacrifice that other circle, what do you want to do, quite a bit. And so we end up making good money and being miserable at something, and nobody wants to live that way. So make sure all 3 of those things line up perfectly. And also something else I want to talk to you about when it comes to starting a business is please do not get fascinated about something that appears to make really easy money online. I think in the past 5 or 10 years, I've seen a heavy thrust into, or a heavy push into people selling, going into t-shirt, basically creating a t-shirt business, because print-on-demand t-shirt businesses are so easy to set up. And I'm in at least one group, a print-on-demand t-shirt group, where people come in there, they start printing some shirts, they put up a website, and then they come back, a week later, or a month later, and they're like, I'm not making any money. I've only made 1 sale. Why? I took this course and said I could make $1,000 a week selling t-shirts. Why am I not doing this? Well, first of all, they've made themselves a commodity. Number 1, there's no particularly well-branded or marketing thing. And second of all, they got distracted by the shiny object syndrome. They saw somebody who happened to make $1,000 a week on t-shirts. That person sold them a course on how to make $1,000 a week on t-shirts. And they said, I want the money. They may not necessarily want to sell t-shirts, but I want the money, so I'm going to basically go in the t-shirt business. So be careful about getting distracted by shiny objects or things that seem to make a lot of money if they don't fulfill those other two circles. In other words, is it something you want to do, and is it something that you're good at? Really focus on, is that something you really want to do? Let me see. And also, if you are going to get into something like a t-shirt business, which I'm not a huge fan of, but if that seems like something that's appealing to you, don't call yourself a t-shirt business. Just like don't call yourself, a dog grooming business. Develop kind of the branding and the marketing and your mission statement and your value statement first, and then kind of back into it with the selling of the t-shirts or the selling of the coffee cups or the selling of the paintings or whatever it is you do. And then what I wrote down here is put your stake in the ground with a name, mission statement, and a process statement for how you get people from point A to point B. So this is something I often repeat a lot when I'm in one of those t-shirt Facebook groups, is when people come in and they're like, I put a t-shirt shop up and I put 50 t-shirt designs in there. In the past 30 days, I've sold 2 of them. What am I doing wrong? My first question is, what's your marketing? What are you doing for marketing daily? What's your branding? What do you do? What do you bring to the world? What do you offer to the world? And they really can't tell me. Like, well, I sell shirts. I sell shirts that make people look good. That's not really a mission statement or a value proposition at all. Again, let's repeat this. Put your stake in the ground with a name, a mission statement, and a process statement for how you get people from point A to point B. And make sure that's unique. Make sure that stands out from you being a commodity, okay? You do not, again, want to be a me too business, because it's absolutely boring and nobody in the world wants to buy from me too business. So again, and that goes back to the selling t-shirts example I gave you, or the dog grooming business I gave you. We all know you do dog grooming. You just don't want to call yourself a dog groomer like every other dog groomer. If you sell t-shirts, don't just call don't call your business a t-shirt selling business like everybody else does. Come up with the branding and the marketing. And the other cool part about once you develop the branding and the marketing is that you can sell anything. You can sell t-shirts, you can sell coffee cups, you can sell jeans, you can sell consulting, you can sell coaching, you can sell whatever you want if you develop the branding and the marketing first. And by the way, like all things, I'm speaking from bad experiences here. I'm speaking from doing it the wrong way, because I have done that quite often every now and then. Not quite often every now and then, more likely every now and then. But I see people do it all the time. I just try to guide them down the right path these days. And then the third part of what I want to talk about today is really the quickest part. So far we've talked about the mindset, okay? And then the process, which is put your stake in the ground, and the business. Now, the business side to me is going to be the quickest part of our presentation today, because that's the easiest side of it. Oftentimes, I see people that they are more concerned about this last part when it's really the easiest part of the entire thing. It's the part that's been solved many, many times, and there's easy processes for it. And that's the part from setting up the business and getting money from people. I mean, that's kind of cookie cutter stuff, if you will. The hard part is the branding. The hard part is coming up with those 3 circles to define what you're good at, what you can make money at, and what you want to do. That's all the hard work. So all your hard work is in these first 2 blocks right here, the mindset and the process. The last part's easy. Setting up a website with something like Squarespace or WordPress, that's easy. 1,000 people out there to help you do it, 1,000 templates out there. You want to collect money from people? Go get a FreshBooks account and a Stripe account. You can have that set up and running in 30 minutes, I guarantee it. And if you want an employee ID number, rather than go through a service that pays for it, you can go to the IRS website and just get an employer ID number. An employer ID number is just a number that makes sure that your business income and whatnot and taxes are going to be distinct from your personal. But to tell you the truth, even that last one is optional, because you could run your business as a sole proprietorship for the meantime, and collect money under your Social Security number and just pay taxes on that at the end of the year. So if you're somebody who wants to start that business, really all you need is maybe, I would say, a very basic website, a way to collect money from people. That's really all you need. So a very basic website with something like Squarespace or Wix, Not a huge fan of either one of those unless it's going to be something very simple that you plan on changing later. But if you think of, you have an idea and you want to get that idea from point zero to up and running pretty quick, Squarespace and Wix, it's hard to beat those website designers. You will change them later, I promise, but they are just very easy to get something out the door. Then, like I said, FreshBooks for invoicing, I think that's $29 a month. And then a Stripe account is what's known as your merchant account, which is what actually takes the credit card number in and puts the money into your bank account. So that's really all you need to get up and running. And again, this is for those people, it's for those of you that are tuning in towards the end. This is for those people who have an idea that they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to run a business, and they have no idea how they want to get started. So as a quick recap for you, remember, people are kind of divided into 5 or 6 groups. People who know nothing, they know the wrong things, they have a very basic grasp. People that know advanced skills, and people that know advanced skills that are also good or possibly bad teachers. We talked about the process. You don't want to be a commodity. You don't want to be a Me Too business at all. You just want to think about that three Venn diagram. What are you good at? What can you make money at? And what do you want to do? And also, please make sure you put your stake in the ground with a name, a mission statement, and a process statement from how you get people to point A to point B. And then after that, the business side is easy. Get a tax ID number from the IRS website if you want to. You don't have to day one. Get a simple website up and running, and then maybe create a FreshBooks account with a Stripe account. So hopefully this has been useful to you. If you have any questions about starting up a business, you can private message me on Facebook or any other social media account, or text us here. I'm going to throw the office number right here on the screen. You can text me at any point in time there, or call that number, and the calls will get routed to our office right there. But text me your business questions or how you might do something a certain way. I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a lawyer, but I know a thing or two. Isn't that what the Allstate, or is it the Farmers guy? We know a thing or two about insurance. Yeah, that's the bald guy from some different shows out there. So I know a thing or two about starting and running a business. I would gladly share it with you. So just text me right there or message me, and we can get the questions answered there or on a future show. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, like I said earlier in the show, if you're listening to the podcast on iTunes, please make sure you subscribe over on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you're watching this visually on YouTube and Facebook, make sure you go over and subscribe and rate the podcast over on iTunes. As always, I love every single one of you guys, and thank you for watching, whether you were watching recorded or live. And by the way, just so you know, all the shows I do come from questions I've had over being in business the past 20 years. So I don't just make up this stuff. I'm just reviewing questions I've been asked over and over and over again. So hopefully when I'm asleep, when you're watching this at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you get to have a piece of my brain moved over to your brain. As always, thanks you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.